We're talking about,
Toy.
yes, you have been itching, an itchy onion. And guess what? We can say that about you. You
Sure.
are a quarter, you are an itchy quarter onion,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
so that because you, of course, you are quarter Chinese.
Sure.
So you have been itching to illustrate, draw, paint our toy. And this is just a first in a series because
Yeah.
our toy is our favorite character, my favorite
Yeah, she
character.
is. She's
But I love Ah Sahm.
yeah. Assam's well, he's the main guy, but I love Toy. What a brilliant character.
Just amazing and based on a real person.
Right.
Our toy was real. So let's first talk about our toy as portrayed by Olivia Cheng. Now Olivia, that's not her. That's of course her Anglo name. She's Canadian. Her parents are from China, Guangdong specifically, if I can remember, and yeah, they emigrated, and so
Yeah.
she's a broadcast journalist as well. Like she's some kick-ass, she's really cool, and yeah. So it's unfortunate that actors of Asian origin just don't get enough time on, because every time they're on screen, they eat that screen. I
Yeah.
mean, Warrior is just I can't watch white productions.
Yeah.
I cannot. I mean, the white actors in Warrior are deliberately bland because they're meant to show how the ducks are
Yeah.
just a certain way. So they're not bland. They're gorgeous. All of them are fantastic. Lee and Penny. Come on, but each
That's it.
that's it really. But each Asian origin
Yeah.
actor, oh my gosh, they just eat like, and what's his bloody young Jun, Justin Tobin, Jason Tobin, yes, sorry, but wow, he's
Justin.
yeah, all of them are amazing. But the women are strong in
Yeah.
this. The women are really, really strong. And that sort of creeps up on you. All of a sudden you realize, no, wait a moment. Let's start with who actually brought it to the screen. That's Shannon Lee. I can't say his name, but her father is.
Mr. Bruce Lee.
Yes, thank you. I can't say. I get really shy.
He'll like fly kick me from the other side.
Oh my gosh. And it's based, of course, on the writings of Bruce Lee. And that's why you and I watch the credits just to get to the end where it says, based on the writings of, I can't say it.
Mr.
Anyway,
Bruce Lee.
that's right, thank you. So Shannon Lee brought it to the screen. And, she's the executive producer along with Justin Lin and the showrunner, Jonathan Tropper. But but it creeps up on you that really the women in the show, all of them, Asian origin and the white ones, are all really fantastic. It's just that life is shit for women in general everywhere, still. So that's depicting that. Now, our toy, as played by Olivia Cheng. Now, Olivia is fantastic, and I love the direction of this. A favorite aspect of Warrior for both of us is the way they show speaking,
The language.
the language. And when it's just the Asian origin actors on screen, they're all speaking normally. And by normally, I mean whatever their accents are. So, because, no, they're not speaking in their natural accents because Ah Sahm, as played by, Andrew Koji, is British.
Right.
So I'm going to assume he has a British accent.
Sure.
Because they all change their accents. Even the Australian actors go and start speaking American.
Yeah, well, Toy is Canadian.
Yeah, so their accent's different, and woe betide anyone who mistakes the two. Oh my
Yeah, no,
gosh!
right.
But I think I like the Canadian accents better anywhere, and from any region. Anyway, so Olivia Cheng is herself quite a fantastic, a high achieving woman. So now let's go and talk about our toy. Wow, love her. What an introduction to her too. Okay, so by now you should know our toy is the madam of the brothel, and she's a power player, but she seems to be a neutral power player where she doesn't want to rule. but she wants to be independently rich. She wants to just have autonomy and wants to please everybody, but she has aligned with the Hop way. Because everyone has to align with the Tongs in Chinatown.
Yeah, no, she kind of has to make everybody happy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she does it by this way, and this is all real, actually. Now we'll talk about the real Artoy later. So this is all real up to a certain point. Artoy's story is real. So Artoy, in the character and the real person, she was married to a good man who loved her, and she loved him. And he taught her about property and how to value investment and to have power that way, to have security that way. And but unfortunately, in the ship's passage to America, over the pond, her husband died or was killed or murdered, and she was either going to be a prostitute for the men, the guys on board, not men, or the captain's concubine. So that's what she chose to do. And I don't know if that's particularly the full story of the real Artoy, so I can check on that. But what do you like about Artoy?
My goodness, where to begin? She's just such a strong character.
Yeah.
She's kick-ass with that sword, though.
Yes, and what an introduction.
I mean, like, so she's kind of a superhero, right?
Yes. She is.
And
so this is the wonderful thing about being a creative and having something. Sorry, but I didn't mean to hijack this. Because she is actually just something fantastical. Like we wish, like we had that kind of power. Women especially, like wish we could just okay by day be the meek and mild, whatever, but by night don't you fuck with us, kind of thing. And Artoy, she just plays that really well. But before I go on, we should finish that. What else do you like about Artoy? I mean,
I love a strong woman, and the character of Artoy really portrays that well. I mean, shit, she is just kick-ass from the get-go, and even her opening scene, like the first time you see Artoy, she's dressed powerfully. Yeah, she's just got power. Her presence is
now
insane.
There's something I do want to talk about here, because you, as a man who respects strong women, no, you respect all women, okay? Sure. Because none of there are guys who say that a certain kind of woman is a strong woman, and they respect that kind of woman that that fits in with their boxes, kind of thing. But all other women are shit. So there are guys like that. But you are courteous towards all women. You respect women who deserve respect, regardless of what kind of. I'm not saying it's a tick the boxes thing with you, but anyway. Yeah. Because the one thing why I hijacked you is because Artoy is always dressed fantastically and incredibly sexily. Like she looks very sexy because she is the madam of the brothel. You have grown into a man who can recognize when the sexiness is not needed. That naked woman is not needed here. Yeah. This sexiness is not needed. It's overt and it's also superfluous, or it's unnecessary. Like we noticed in the production of Aida last night, the dancing girls, and it's like unnecessary.
Nothing seen, yeah.
It would have been lovely to listen to the, Aida's most famous piece, the Imperial March, in dun 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 dun, whatever that, something like that, without these girls prancing and carrying on, hurrying all over. And that's another thing, we have to review that. What I'm getting to is that you like Artoy because when she is in her warrior mode, she's not dressed sexily. Yeah. She's just covered and whatever, and just
the cloak.
Yeah, just cloak. Yeah, that's it. And so cool. And the power comes from wielding what you call phallic symbols, and just cutting down these idiots that she has had enough of. Because I'm sure the real Artoy really had to contend with all of that. Okay, let's talk about the real Artoy for a bit. The real Artoy had to become a prostitute when she got to San Francisco because, she had money because she was the mistress of the ship's captain. So now I'm going to read from Wikipedia about the real Artoy. So when Artoy left China for the US, she originally traveled with a husband who died during the travel. Artoy became the mistress of the ship's captain, who gave her so much gold. By the time she arrived in San Francisco, Artoy had a good amount of money. Before 1851, there were only 7 Chinese women known to be in the city, and noticing the looks she drew from the men in her new town, she deduced they would pay for a more intimate setting. Her peep shows became successful, and she was known to charge an ounce of gold, $16, for a lookie. Afterwards, she became the most famous Chinese prostitute and one of the highest paid and most famous in San Francisco. due to her romantic relationship with the brothel inspector James A. Clark. Okay, that's totally. Ah Toi's brothel escaped shutdown by San Francisco authorities during a committee of vigilance investigation. Now, that's the good thing about Warrior. We have said this before. Warrior is fictionalized or sensationalized history. All of these things happened. Chinatown Squad, that happened, and they were nasty racists, you know. All of these things happened. So this wonderful fictionalized superhero stuff, it's unfortunately happened around real things. So it says Ah Toi was described as a determined and intelligent woman, which is what the Ah Toi in Warrior is. And she's caring, she's not cold, or she's emotionless. One of the others. So let's determine this now. So Ah Toi is emotionless, but she's not cold. She treats the girls in her brothel well. You know, she makes sure they're looked after. She rescues the virgins from the terrible prostitute yards, the sale yards. And by season 2, she meets, of course, the white woman fantasy crusader, activist, advocate, savior, Nellie Davenport, who's so damn sweet, who has her own tragic backstory. We'll talk about that in the white woman episode. If you want someone for Ah Toi, that's it. That's the kind of woman you want. And these two are the best of all worlds kind of thing. And but it's like overly, like when I'm looking at their sex scene, it's like, come on, God. But it's beautiful because this is, if you want to see it this way. I guess everybody wants to see lovemaking this way, and we should know. Well, that's what we feel. But going back to Ah Toi, she's just a character of for me, a character of love, because she just takes her power and saves things and does things. Oh, she's so great. I love it. And we're also going to have an illustration of the three, the trio.
Yes. I was just going to say as well, like the white guy who was her partner.
Yes, right. Leonard Patterson.
Yeah, so even then, she really wanted him to trust her.
Yes.
So and you could see it, like, in her face, the sincerity.
Yeah, that was sad.
You can trust me, like, what's wrong with you? Like,
can we now go back to, the language thing, because when the actors, the Asian origin characters, when all the Chinese, we're going to say Chinese people are shown in the white world, when they're white world people around, then they all speak English with an accent. So everyone's accented, because all the white people have got an Irish accent or an English accent or something, or or a southern accent. They're all accented, and so they're othered all the time. But when there's white people present, so they subtitled. When they speak in Cantonese to each other, it's subtitled. When they speak English, except for Ah Sahm. Ah Sam's the only one who isn't accented, because he learnt English from his American grandfather. Right. I love how Olivia Cheng, of course they would have had vocal coaches and linguistic lessons.
Also they grew up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Even though Olivia would have grown up with Canadian, because it changes the accent.
Their parents would have had
the parents,
their grandparents.
Yes, absolutely.
So family, community.
Absolutely. So she has that to draw from. When Ah Toi speaks English, and she tells her partner, "You no worry, I protect you." And it's gorgeous. There's so much feeling in it. And she's trying to tell him, and this stupid weakling white idiot. But, so heavy. I feel it now. And she says it just in very simple words, like...
And that's the emotionless part as well. But the sincerity, and, like, she cares.
Yes.
She cares about this thing. Like, when she kills that guy.
Yeah.
And, of course, he's freaking out. She's like, no, it's all good. Like, that's the emotionless. She just killed somebody.
Yeah, I know. That's so good, huh? Yeah. And Olivia does that so well. And because I'm going to also, the one thing about this, though, even though Jonathan Tropper is the showrunner, each episode is directed by a different person. Yeah. So it's amazing that the characters remain, they elevate according to if the storyline is about them, but they stay constant and consistent, and that I attribute to the actors and their understanding of their characters, because Olivia really, really keeps Ah Toi at this, that wonderful thing you're saying about her. She's emotionless, like, it's okay, God protected us, because Ah Toi is smart and she's buying land. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about some historical things here, because Ah Toi, she understands what it means, what power means. Power means, to these people now in that world, means owning land, So Ah Toi starts buying land, but Chinese people could not buy land in the States, even though they were brought there. And now they were actually encouraged to come there because of the gold rush. So that's why the Chinese went to America, United States. They came to Australia. They went to Fiji. It's gold. Yeah. The Chinese went in search of gold. Smart people. Anyway, that's why the Chinese went there. And I've got some stories here that I'd like to read from season 2. When Ah Toy meets Nellie, because let's just finish the Leonard Patterson story, as you're saying. So it's wonderful how she's telling this, but he betrays her, as they do.
Yeah.
And she, oh gosh, I can't watch that, but it's incredible, and it's just
so real.
Oh my God. The violence in this is too much for me, because I have experienced violence in real life. From a vulnerable point of view, if you see it as realistic, and you can always tell when something's not. Yeah, but oh God, our toy is amazing. But in season 2, she gets to see something else. Like she saves girls, sure, but she says to them, harden up, we're in a different world now, so no softness, there's no other way, this is the only way. So she thinks this is the only way.
Well, for her, what she can do for them,
that's right,
that's all she can do for them.
That's right. So within her control. Yeah. But she's buying this land, but she didn't realize because Chinese people and immigrants and people of color in any place are not allowed to think outside of their boundaries. They're not allowed to dream big, because the Eurocentric, the white stream is so selfish, they suppress everybody else. And it's like, why? I guess they know that the only way they won was by conquest. Anyway. So this is what Ah Toy is doing. She is accumulating land. And in season 2, she meets Nellie Davenport, who shows her another way and what to do with land. So Nellie has been going, and she's doing, see, this is still a little bit of white play here, because Nellie's saving too, but she does it in the the lovely white way, because white women can walk through the world differently.
Well, she's rich as well.
And she's rich because she hates, Nellie's story is Nellie is a widow, her husband was an asshole, but a rich asshole, died in a whorehouse, in a brothel, in a young, with a child basically, and left Nellie all this money. So Nellie's using all this money to go rescue all these girls and these young women. And she's now taken them to Sonoma in California. Now, the interesting thing about Sonoma is that's where all the wineries are. Wineries were built, the first wineries, I think, and it is Chinese labor that built all of this. And because racist people drove them out. So I'm going to read this from npr.org. In Sonoma Valley, about an hour north of San Francisco, there are many reminders of the immigrants who built California's wine industry. Tasting rooms that look like Italian villas or signs bearing French names. But you won't see any vestiges of the group that made up an estimated 80% of the workforce that first put Sonoma vineyards on the map. The Chinese. Not many Chinese people in this little town now, says Jack Ding, an immigrant from Jiangsu, China, who has been living in Sonoma since 2008. But some of my neighbors and friends said, "Hey Jack, you're Chinese. Let me tell you stories of Chinese who lived here 50, 100, or 150 years ago." These were verbal stories from the family, generation by generation. And one of these friends was Gordon Phillips, a retired attorney and local historian who spent 9 years researching the history of Chinese in Sonoma. So one of these friends was Gordon Phillips, and he says all these vintners were making money off these initial Chinese workers, and nobody knows about it because he's researching the history of Chinese. It's the same thing with Australia, I have to say. If you go out back, if you really travel out back, and if you stop to actually read histories and go to the proper museums and not just to go out back yahooing it and doing the nut bush in Birdsville, because it's the trendy thing to do. Nutbush, I'm going off course here, is this off course and digressing. Nutbush is the song by the late Tina Turner, recently passed away, about her hometown, Nutbush, Tennessee. And for some reason, it has become like Australia's national dance. It's what everybody does in school, etc. And white people have adopted it as their dance here, and everyone does. I learned it in boarding school. Why I'm digressing is because outback Birdsville is this thing called the Big Bash in winter. And, they've set the record for the world's largest group doing Nutbush. And of course, it was going to be a record this year because Tina Turner has passed away. So I don't know if they've done it. So this is outback. This is what they go outback for, to yahoo it up, make their mark and own territory on land. They don't go to read things. But if you go into old outback pubs and stuff, there are murals and names, Chins and Singhs and Alis. It's like people who helped Australia become Australia. And, well, of course, the true stories about the indigenous. Anyway, so we're going to go back to this article about the Chinese. So much truth has been left out of every history, Just continuing with a little bit in Australia. So Mungo Woolshed at Lake Mungo, and you've been there and you love it and you feel the spirituality, and you and I are going to go back there and camp there and just go and spend a few days there. You drove through an ancient lake. Amazing. Now, the woolshed you were standing in, which I took photographs of you and everywhere else around there, it's quite poetic because it was built by Chinese laborers. Of course, that's not a well-known thing. It's not well known that that's what happened. And that's what happened in the States with the Chinese. To understand how Chinese workers arrived in California's wine country, one must look to the east, to the Sierra Nevada. And now throughout Warrior, they refer to Sierra Nevada. They've gone there. They've done things there. And so Chinese immigrants who were already in California for the gold rush and later for the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, China built the United States. And the United States dare say how we own you? Excuse me? China owns United States. Anyway, let's go back to what Atoy. So Nelly shows Atoy a different way. They're in Sonoma and they're building wineries, and the Chinese women the ex-prostitutes are now building this winery. So it's history,
and they're making money from it,
and getting independent, and so they become partners, and I hope this works out for them. And how wonderful. This is how the Chinese got to own everything, because let's come back to Australia. The Chinese own so much land here, and all these white Australians are like, bloody Chinese, blah blah blah. Excuse me, who sold this land? The people who stole it in the first place, the white people. I do feel really, really just gutted for the indigenous, because I don't know if the Chinese are going to treat the indigenous of Australia well. And this is what the white Australians have the leverage with, because I don't know, even though it shows very favorably how when they do show race interaction in Warrior, it's usually between the black men and Chinese men, and they're fighting. But the black women and the white men are lovers, and the Native American or the Indian, maybe the Indians prefer being called Indian rather than Native American.
Yeah.
We've just had an epiphany, and we'll explain why. Because we went to, in 2020, around that time, 2021, we went to this incredible performance of what we were calling Native Americans. It was their dance and historical law at the Opera House, and it was just beautiful. You and I were just enthralled, and we got to meet the performers, and the woman and I, Ikosia, we struck up a friendship, and we follow each other's account on Instagram, and she's amazing, And they call themselves Indian. And we were puzzled by that. I'm like, why would you call yourselves Indian? Columbus was an idiot, dickhead, and he had no idea what he was doing. He thought he had reached India and then just went, yeah, you guys are Indians. But I get it, because America is white and named after Amerigo Vespucci, who I told you. He's I don't know, Portuguese, Italian adventurer. I don't know why. I can't remember. We learnt this in social science and Suva Grammar School in Form 2. It's so then maybe they would rather be called Indians. So anyway, in Warrior, between the Indians and the Chinese is great, and it's always young June, and he's always like, yeah, I love these women. He loves all women. He's very respectful. He's such a great character. But there's such great, wonderful characters in here. Each with their own faults and their own things you've got to learn from, and lessons and obstacles and battles. Each one so well-rounded. Our Toy's journey is incredible. She proves a woman of her word when she says to Nelly, the girls in her care are free to go. So this is the thing. As a white woman, Nelly can go everywhere. As you said, Atoy can only do what she can do, and she can only save them and keep them safe within the confines of her brothel. Nelly can walk anywhere. She gets, everyone steps back if a white woman wants to come into the sale yard to rescue these young virgins. Everyone steps back. Atoy has to go in there with a sword. Nellie can go in there just by being white. That's what white is. It's a weapon. Artoy knows this, and she has no qualms about destroying these corrupt white ones. That's why she tells her ex-partner, don't worry, I've just killed the idiots. Not you. I'm going to protect you. You're on my side, I'm on your side. But he then turned out to be weak. Women don't like to not be trusted. Women want trust. Trust is a thing for women. And Artoy, I love her relationship with Ah Sahm. Love their friendship. Now, I can't remember, and you're saying that they did have a sexual relationship.
Well, they just had it was a one-night stand.
Right.
But, after that, they never did it again.
And look, I get that.
Became really good friends.
I get that, because you get the sex stuff out of the way. If it's good enough, then you think, okay, then I like you enough to hang around. Get the sex out of the way and then get to know each other. Imagine getting to know each other and then having sex, and it's like, well, that was a limp biscuit. Oh, shit. Wet biscuit. Like a wet biscuit? It looks like a biscuit.
Okay, hey.
Oh, shit, man. Darling, I have the yummiest melting moment biscuits. So now, so I can say that stuff. Anyway, Artoy and Ah Sahm, I love the trust. He knows that he can go to her, and she knows he's got her back. But they squabble like they're siblings, but they're friends. It's not siblings. There's no dominance over each other. Very independent, and Chow's the other one who's also very independent. So these are these three, but, of course, Ah Sahm is aligned with the Hop Way, and Ah Sam's brothel seems to be a white and a Hop Way place, and a non-Tong Chinese, because I don't see any other Tongs in there.
Yeah, the Longji.
Longji and the
Fanghai.
Fanghai,
but they don't. So I think the Longji are more monk-like.
Right.
So they don't do all that kind of shit,
sure.
or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or maybe
sure.
they're on a different side of town.
Oh, they're different types of Chinese society.
And the Fanghai
oh my
have their
gosh.
fucking
Yes,
dirty
because
shit.
they're the that's one side, right? It's quite clever. And then you have you're right. And then the Hop Way are the cool, modern, but run by an old school thing, leader. And then, it's very good. But Artoy's brothel is just sumptuous, luscious, opulent, and she walks down her spiral staircase like a dragon lady. And it's always been, now it's seen as, I think all these things are seen as derogatory, but dragon lady is a powerful thing, dragon woman. And this is who Artoy is. And she's, wow, she's wonderful, absolutely beautiful character. I love this, and I love this book that you have started this with. This is gorgeous. So absolutely love Artoy. Thank you for illustrating. I'm sorry it's taken so long, but it was at my actual, I had said, no, let's talk about these other people first, and then and I can't wait to really start illustrating and talking about season 3.
No, because we were going episode by episode before. Right. Who was the main character in that episode?
Yeah, so sure, great.
That's what we were doing.
And so it was the focus on the guys, and it wasn't until the end of season 1 that you realize, well, wait a moment, the women have real power here. It's so good.
So that's what you meant as well. It kind of creeps up on you.
It creeps up on you.
You don't realize what's happening here, but the women are coming up right now. It's just,
yeah, it's so good. And like Penny, Mei Ling, and Artoy, Nellie, it's fascinating. It's really good. But Artoy, gorgeous, beautiful. Oh, hero. What a, and I think she should be. Just because she was a prostitute, it's not, but she was one of the wealthiest women. Etc. So she should be held up as an icon, definitely. But because she used her body as her collateral or her whatever, models use body as canvas. It's still a form of trade. That's all prostitution is. It's trade. It's supply and demand. It's barter. And I feel a bit bad for them that they feel that this is their best thing. And that's because I have options, and I was given options. But some people are given the ability to separate themselves from their body and use their body. And that's actors, that's models, that's, other stunt people. That's all sorts of people who can do that. Why aren't actors called prostitutes? Actors are celebrated. An actor plays a prostitute, they get a frickin' Academy Award from the White Academy Award. And the fastest way for a black actor to get something is to be a slave or a prostitute or something downtrodden. But because it's about sex, it's seen as, oh no, And actors were seen as lowly before. Actors were seen as akin to prostitutes. So what I'm saying is our toy should be celebrated. The real our toy should be celebrated. What an icon for Chinese women, you know, because she went and said, okay, like realized, okay, this is what she has that Chinese way, that thing that you have. Like I've always said, you've got the best of all your races, the Chinese, the Indian, the Indo-Fijian, Indian, and the indigenous Fijian, because Chinese have this wonderful ability, that Zen is the ability to just step away from emotion. I fucking love it. I love it. And you have that. I mean, you're not cold. You have care and compassion and you are kind. And with me, it's just full gush. You love me. So all your emotion is for me. And sensibly, I didn't waste my emotion either. But I wasn't emotionless. So cold people are scared people. They're just terrified of emotion. So cold is different from emotionless. So the Chinese part of it is being emotionless, not cold. Chinese are caring. They have family. They have legacy. I think I don't know. They have different ways of being for survival. Why is it wrong? And every race has got terrible cruelty about them, and they have done cruel things to themselves and to each other and to each gender. But Chinese have this wonderful Zen ability to just separate from themselves, and this is what, in my imaginationing, that thing we do, is our toy, the real our toy, did. Separated. She saw that she was obviously attractive, and she's exotic to these, white duds.
Yeah, because in the show she goes as simply as like explaining it to Nelly, right? She realized she was pretty, and that's it.
That's it.
That's how she made her
That's
money.
real. That's the real our toy. Realized that they're all looking at her like, okay, and so the real our toy charged peep
And
shows.
that's how she explained it.
That's right.
That simply, she realized she was pretty.
And we do need to talk about looks privilege, because every pretty person has this privilege. Women especially are able to wield it to save themselves. Guys wield it to enhance themselves. Women wield it to save themselves. It's about leverage. It's crazy, and guys do it for appeal. It's crazy. Anyway, but our toy has got that wonderful Zen-like ability. Like, okay, well, I'm going to be a prostitute then, and I feel that she should, the real our toy, should be seen, upheld as a role model for being okay. Separate, and do what you need to do to not only survive but thrive. And take ownership of it. And because it's terrible, because of what happens to women, to young women, to girls, to children. Trafficking, how is trafficking a thing in this world? It's fucking insane. And who is to blame? Because you can blame the white world, but then, oh my gosh, every single race has got something disgusting about them to do with children especially, and trafficking. And what I've seen happen in so many countries, I've had to be pulled away from situations because I would have been our toy about this all. I understand that is every woman's fantasy. Women like our toy, women like me who see this and are so helpless, because if you take the law in your own hands, you've got to then answer to the law, because the law is there so we can all be third party, so there's a third party governing something. Then you've got to prove this and whatever. How much proof does the law need that women are being murdered and killed emotionally and physically? And this is such a fantasy. It's so wonderful for us to be able to see our toy just pick up this sword and go, no more, you fuckers, and just fucking slice through these oxygen wasters. But that's anarchy. In the real world, that can't happen, because the wrong people will go and kill the wrong people, as is happening now. The wrong people get killed, not the right people. Why isn't Trump murdered? Why aren't the assholes killed? The assholes then kill the innocent, and then the assholes then have to go to court, and they get the law after they've broken it. Ugh. Our toy is every person who has seen injustice. Our toy is every person's fantasy. Every person who has seen injustice. Our fantasy of being able to just metaphorically slice through the bullshit and cut to the chase. Cut to the jugular. They raped and killed and murdered and are racist and bigoted. I'm sorry, what? What's to argue about here? Mitigating circumstances? Like mitigating circumstances, why? Let's talk about Roman Polanski, the celebrated French, Russian, whatever, Polish, director, and celebrated by America. He's an artist, fuck. He No, he says he had sex with a 13-year-old who was, her mother gave permission and, to get drugged and sodomized. 13, right, really? And the judge then says, yeah, mitigating circumstances. The girl said yes. 13, fuckwit. She can't drink. She can't vote. She can't drive. Okay. All right. And so, everyone defends this fuckwit. And he wasn't allowed back in the States because he has to go to trial. And they've got all of these Hollywood people saying, but he's an artist. Oh, fuck you. Oh, my God. And then, of course, we've talked about this before. His wife was Sharon Tate. Why doesn't anyone discuss the fact that Sharon Tate was murdered by Charles Manson's disciples? Charles Manson, by the way, didn't actually kill anyone. He convinced his disciples to. That's more dangerous, the influencer. Convincing the people. That's more dangerous. That's why I guess cops go after the drug lords. But then they go after the small people. And that's not fair. Like, fuck it. Let everyone enjoy. Go after the drug lords. Anyway. But our toy, man. Everyone's fantasy. Anyway. Well, I guess that's really, so this is a double thing. This is on VideoFly, on our Warrior playlist, on our Stylander YouTube channel, and on RadioFly, because we love our toy. Yeah. And I love this illustration. It's gorgeous. And I do love how Warrior satisfies some truths, but seen in a sensationalist way. And everyone watches all this horror shit, right? And all this white stuff. I can't watch white programs. They're terrible. Now, Warrior season 3 is now with HBO, which was HBO Max, and now it's back to HBO. But it was with Cinemax before. And as a show reviewer from San Francisco called Kat Leewai, aka my sister-in-law, your sister, she had told us about Cinemax, which was this big cable thing, or not big, but really well funded. And they had so much money. Cable has gone. Gone. United States had so many cable channels. So Cinemax was one of the biggest. And they had so much money left over in their budget. They just threw it at this production. So season 1 and season 2 of Warrior is lavish and sumptuous, beautiful, and luxurious, and just stunning locations on location. I think they filmed a lot of it in South Africa. Cool. Another part, I'm not sure anymore. I'll write it down somewhere. But oh God, it's just stunning. And so season 3 is now produced by HBO, and it was because of fan demand, like saying you've got to, Cinemax dissolved after that, and pandemic and all that stuff, and fans are like, no, the fans who are into it are really into it, like us. Yeah. And Kat is the one who got us onto it, because we didn't know, and because they live in San Francisco. They told us about, Kat told us about this because they can see, the histories of it all. And Kat being quarter Chinese, and and Kat and Ned being human, are interested in all these things. So of course we're just, so season 3 is made by HBO. Let's see. We're hoping that it's going to be as sumptuous and gorgeous as the first 2, and better. But so far so good. People are saying, "Oh, this is good." Oh, but it's maybe the last season, and if it's that good and the last, go out on a high, right? But I hope, the thing is, I'm going to miss these actors. I'm going to miss seeing, Andrew Koji and Olivia Chang, and all of them. And I want to
Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero. Oh my God, I love seeing Sub-Zero. But I love seeing Olivia Chang, and I love seeing Our Toy, and I think Our Toy needs her own spin-off series.
Oh my God, how cool is that?
How cool. And so maybe you should stay tuned here for Our Toys spin-off series. We'll be bringing that to you, and it's in a way that you don't expect. So stay tuned, or whatever it is. We need to have a catchphrase, or this is the word.
This is the word.
Thank you for listening.